Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Google Developer Student Club's iDevIt. I am your tutor for today, Mr. Adrian Tisbe, and welcome to the Basics of Java Programming, Part 2. So let us begin. So for today's session, I'll be discussing the Java operators and the Java flow control. For the Java operators, we have the arithmetic operators, assignment operators, relational operators, and logical operators. For the Java flow control, we have the if-else statement, switch statement, for loops, and while loops. So let us begin with the Java operators. The arithmetic operator. Arithmetic operator are used to perform arithmetic operations on variables and data. We have the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo operation, or the remainder after the division. So first, let us declare a variable x and y of type int. Assign them values 15 and 5 respectively. Then we'll be performing the addition operation. We'll be declaring another variable z to hold the result of x plus y. Then let us print out the result. So the sum of x plus y is equal to plus the variable z. Or we could simply perform the operation inside the print statement. So the sum of x plus y is equal to plus the quantity x plus y, which simply which is the same exact result as this previous one. So the sum of x plus y is equal to 20. Moving on, the assignment operator. So the assignment operator is using Java to assign values of variables. We have the equals, plus equals, minus equals, times equals, divide equals, and modulo equals. So, for example, let us declare a variable age of type int, assign it a value of 22. Then let's print out. So my age is plus the variable age. So my age is 22. That's the output. So for assignment operators, so whatever value is on the right side of the operator for the equal sign will be placed or assigned into the variable on the left side of the equal sign. So age now will be assigned a value of 22. That is the case of assignment operators. So for example, under example, declare variables x and y of type int, assign the values of 10 and 2 respectively. So multiplication operation. Here, x is assigned the result of x times y. We then print out the value of x. So the product of x times y is equal to plus the variable of x. Or we could do the shorthand form, x times equals to y, which is just simply equals to x is equal to x times y. This and that are basically the same thing. So we then print out the result. So product of x times y is equal to plus variable x. So product of x times y is equal to 20 and the product of x times y is equal to 40. Next is we have the Java relational operators. So the relational operators to choose to check the relationship between two operands. We have the is equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. So for example, we have to declare variable x and y of type int, assigning values of 5 and 10 respectively. So first we then print we'll be performing the equal to operator. We then print out the result. So we have x equals to y, where 5 is equal to 10, that is false. And we have the not operator, not x is not equal to y, so we have 5 not equal to 10, that is true. We then have 5 greater than 10, that is false. 5 less than 10, that is true. 5 greater than equal to 10, that is false. Or if 5 less than equal to 10, which is true. So next is the logical operators. For logical operators, you check whether the expression is true or false. So we have the logical AND, logical OR, and logical NOT. So for the logical AND, it will return true if both expressions are true. For the logical OR, it will return true if either of the expressions is true, and then for the logical NOT, it will return the opposite. So if the expression is true, the opposite of true is false. So if the expression is false, the opposite of that is true, and vice versa. So for example, we have an expression, first expression, second expression, and the operators to be used. So we have the AND operator, so 9 less than 3 and 5 greater than 8. So since 9 is not less than 3, so that's false. So that means this entire expression is false. So we have 9 greater than 3 and 5 less than 8. So since this is true and this is true, then the entire expression is true. So moving on to the OR operator, we have 9 less than 3 or 5 greater than 8. Since this is false and this is false, the entire expression is false. We have 9 greater than 3 or 5 less than 8. This is true, the entire expression is true. 9 less than 3 or 5 equal to 8. Since this is false, since but not this is true, then the entire expression is true. Since in our operator, either one of the expression must be true to result a true. Since 9 greater than 3 is true, so the expression is true. Then lastly, we have the not operator. So 9 is equal to 3. That is false. Since we have a not here, so the opposite of false is true. And then 5 less than 8, that is true. Then we have a not here, so the opposite of true is false. And we'll be discussing the Java urinary operator, since this is most common use. We have the increment and decrement, double plus, double minus. So the increment operator increments value by 1, and the decrement operator is decrement value by 1. So we have, for example, the x plus plus and x minus minus. So it's which is equivalent to x is equal to x plus 1 or x is equal to x minus 1. That is the urinary operator. And we have, since we're done with the Java operators, let us now move on to the Java flow control. We'll be discussing first is the if-else statement. So if-else statement executes a certain section of code if the text expression is evaluated to be true. However, if it's false, it does nothing or it executes. So in this case, we have a condition which is true. So if the if statement is true, then the code inside the if block will be executed, and then the code inside the else block would be skipped. So if the condition is false, the code block, or if the condition of the if statement is false, then the code block, the codes inside the if block would be skipped, and the codes inside the else block would be executed. And then we'll execute also the code after if else. So for example, let us take our variable of x of type int is equal to assign the value of 55. So we have our if statement. So is if x is equal to 100. So this simply means it checks if x is greater than 100. So if that is true, it prints out x is greater than 100. Else, if that is false, then it prints out x is not greater than 100. So as we can see in our output, x is not greater than 100 since 55 is not greater than 100. So this expression is false. So which means this code line right here would be skipped and would continue to the else block. So which means that this code inside the else block would be executed. So x is not greater than 100, and then the rest of the codes. So next example is we have the else if and else statement, which simply means you can add multiple conditions onto your decisions. So we have x is equal to 55. Declare a variable of x. So we have our first if statement, x is greater than 0, which simply checks if x is positive. So if that is true, it prints out x is positive. Else if, another if statement, is x less than 0, checks if x is negative, which if it's true, then this code block is executed, x is negative. Or if all conditions are false, then this code block is executed. So x is 0. So which simply means that you can add multiple else if statements to your condition if that is necessary, if you also need multiple conditions. So since our output is x is positive, since 55 is greater than 0, so that means the first expression is true, which means that this code block is executed, and so the rest of this codes right here would be skipped, and then we'll proceed to the codes right down below. Other example is the nested if. So continuing with our previous one, we now, after checking if it's positive, we now add another condition to check whether it is an even number or an odd number. So we have here x modulo of 2 is equal to 0, which checks if x is even. If it's true, then it's print out a positive even number. So if it's not even, so that means if this is false, then this x is a positive odd number. So since the output is x is a positive odd number, since 55 is a positive odd number. That's basically it for the if else statements. Let's move on to the switch. So the switch statement allows us to use execute block of code and main alternative. So we have the expression, we have the match value, the decision, or whether if it matches the value. If yes, then it is called executed. Then no, then another expression, another decision. If it's matched the value, then if yes, and if it's not, then another decision. If it's yes, then this called block executed. And if it's not, so if all the decisions are false, then the default execution block will be executed. So for example, let us declare a variable number, type int, assign a value 50, and coin type string, assign a value of null or empty. So in this switch statement, switch code right here, we're going to check if the given number, what type of coin is the given number. So we put in the expression, inside the parenthesis, the number. So is the number equal to 1 or a 1 peso coin? If it's true, then coin would be given a value of a 1 peso coin. Then break, which means that the rest of the cases will not be checked, since the number is equivalent to 1. If the number is equivalent to 1, then there is really no need to check the other cases, since this is already true. So it then moves on to the end of the switch block and then executes this code right here. But if it's not, it goes to check another case, whether is it a 5 or is the number a 5. So if it's not, then it checks another case, is it a 10? No. So then another case, is it a 20? No. So if all cases are false, so since there's no match, then the default code block would be executed. So coin would now have a value of not a, and then a break, or you could be or not, since it's already the end of the switch block, so there's really no necessary need for a break. Anyways, so since our output is 50 is not a coin, since there is no 50 coin peso 50 peso coin, so that means that all of the cases did not match the given number, which is 50. So the default block is executed, so coin would be equal to not a. So we have here %d is % as coin. So %d is for integer, we have number, and %s is for a string, which is coin. So basically it prints out 50 is not a coin, since coin value is equal to not a, so 50 is not a coin. Next is we go on to the loops. So one is the for loops. The Java for loop is used to run a block of code for a certain number of times. The syntax for loops is initial. So we have a for loop statement, then we have an initial expression, test expression, update expression, then we have the body of the loop. So for the initial expression, initializes and or declares variables to execute only once. Then we have the test expression, or the condition is evaluated, and then it goes into update expression, and then it goes back into the condition to check, and then so on and so forth until the condition is false. So we have here a flowchart of the for loop. So we have initial expression, we have your decision, which is to test the condition. If it's true, then the loop the code inside the for loop block is executed, then it updates the expression, then it checks again, and we'll do it repeatedly up until the test condition is false, which would then terminate the loop. So for example, we'll have here the for loop statement. So for int I is equal to 0, that's our initial expression. I is less than equal to 5, that is our test expression, or our condition that is going to be checked repeatedly. And then we have the I++, or our update expression. So our initial expression, I is equal to 0, so that means 0 is less than equal to 5. That is true, so that means that this condition would be executed. So it prints out hello world. So after that, it then updates our expression block. So I++, so that means it increments the value by 1. So our I now would be 1, so is 1 less than equal to 5. That is also true. We'll then print out hello world again, and then adds 1 again, or means it updates the expression again, and then checks the condition again, and we'll do it repeatedly up until the condition is now false, which would then breaks out of the for loop block and then executes the rest of the code. So with this given example, we are simply printing out hello world 5 times. So next is we have the while loop. So the Java while loop is used to run a specific code until a certain condition is met. So the syntax of while loop is while, then we have the test expression, and then the body of the loop. So while relates to test expression inside the parenthesis. If the test expression is true, then the code inside the while loop is executed. Else, if the expression is false, then the loop stops. So we have a flowchart here. So we have the test condition. If it's true, then the while loop, the code inside the while loop block will then be executed, and then it tests the condition again repeatedly up until it's false, which then the loop terminates. So for example, we'll declare a variable of I, type of integer, assign a value of 0. So while statement here is while I less than equal to 5, and then the codes inside the while loop block. So is 0 less than equal to 5? That is true, so then prints out hello world. And then we have here I++, so it's like an to update our expression. Although basically with this is not really necessary, but since we need to have a stopping point so that our loop would not go into an infinite loop, so after running this code inside here, it tests the condition again. Since we have an since we increment I, so now I is equal to 1, so 1 is less than equal to 5. Then checks the loops again and then executes the code again. So basically what it does, what the while loop does is it checks the condition. If it's true, it executes this line of code and then checks the condition again, and does that repeatedly up until the execution or the condition is false, which would then end of the while loop, and then the rest of the code will be executed. So in our given example, which is the same in the for loop block, a for loop, which we are simply printing out hello world 5 times. So when to use for loop or while loop? So for loop, it is used when the number of iterations is known. That means we know when to stop the loop execution. And as for the while loop, they generally use when the number of iteration is unknown. So don't know when the loop to stop. So we finally reached the end of our discussion. To summarize, we've discussed Java operators. So operators are symbol that performs operations of variables and values. So for example, we have plus for addition and times for multiplication. Star for multiplication. So we've discussed 4 types of operators in Java, namely the arithmetic operators, assignment operators, relational operators, and logical operators. And we've also discussed the Java flow control, the 2 types of, the decision statements, the if, else, and switch statements, and the loops, the for loops and while loops. So that is it for tutorial session for today. Hope you guys had fun and enjoyed. Thank you all so much for listening, and have a great day.